A long, festering war between the central government and the ethnic states has torn and divided Burma for over 60 years. Can the current peace process, launched by President Thein Sein in 2011, bring about a lasting peace? Last year, the government signed a ceasefire with Karen rebels, ending one of the world's longest civil wars. But the ceasefire is tentative, and in Karen state, the people are yet to benefit.
Already a year, and we haven't seen any concrete things that we can say that this is a real peace,
And in northern Burma, ceasefires are being ignored.
In the meantime, in northern Shan states, where the place with SSA North, they already signed ceasefire agreements in December 2011. However, the fighting continues to date. So that means signing ceasefire agreement is nothing. It's just a piece of paper without implementation strategy.
Ceasefire is step one. Ceasefire is only ceasefire. Then, of course, the important part now is the political process, which is just beginning.
Norway, the European Union and others have donated millions of dollars to support the peace process and to fund the Myanmar Peace Center. But many ethnic groups see a big contradiction. They feel the peace process has been highly successful in boosting the government's image abroad and getting economic sanctions lifted. The government's chief peace negotiator hasn't actually made any concrete steps towards withdrawing army battalions from ethnic states. In fact, when President Thein Sein visited Europe, the Burmese army in Kachin state took no notice of calls for ceasefire and peace.
On the 18th, in the evening, 8 p.m., the ceasefire already announced. But on the 19th morning, there was mortar shooting to Liza area, and also helicopter gunships, and also even that fighter jets coming and shooting in the whole area.
Despite several talks between the military and the Kachin Independence Organization, no meaningful ceasefire agreement has been signed.
It's really frightening and also losing trust by the Kachin civil society, especially people living in that area. So that means the president's and also the country's announcement on ceasefire is not really trustworthy.
With or without ceasefires, the civilians in conflict zones are still living in fear of the Burmese army. In Karen state, the army seems to be preparing for a renewed war.
What we've seen in the area, in different areas, that they are, instead of relocating or reducing the army, the soldier, but they're reinforcing, and they're also fortifying their camps.
There is little trust between the ethnic nationalities and the government. But if peace agreements aren't upheld, a sustainable peace will be hard to achieve. Big investment projects are also standing in the way of the peace process.
So when I look at this in-conflict area, those conflicts are mostly closely linking to the area where the place investment sites are. For example, Jua gas pipeline area in northern Shan states. There are Taang Palang, SSA North, and the KIO are living there. So in that area is the highest density of fighting up to now.
The ethnic states are rich in natural gas, gold, timber, jade and rubies, yet the local people are among the poorest in Burma.
And then the people lost their land and lost all their properties, and even some of them, they lost their lives. So means these investments are not really supporting the country, but not only to the people, but also the country, but supporting to the cronies and investors, as well as a handful of people in the government.
To move forward, Paul Saint-Ouen says transparency is the key.
Definitely the economic development project need to be reviewed.
They are not really supporting to peace process, but fueling to existing conflicts, as well as creating new conflicts in Myanmar.
The attempt to build a huge dam in Kachin State, which was opposed by the Kachin people, sparked renewed fighting, which prompted President Thein Sein to suspend the project.
Myanmar also understands that we need foreign direct investment as well as national development plan. However, there are some of the projects which are really dangerous, for example, mega dam.
In February 2013, Deputy Minister of Power Mint Zaw told Parliament that 6 hydropower dams had been approved for the Salween River without any meaningful consultation.
For public or for people, we don't know. We only read from the news that this project has been approved, blah 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 blah, but not really open up for public scrutiny or public discussion.
A government advisor told DVB that the current government had inherited signed agreements and contracts from the previous regime that Burma had to honour.
The issue is that these projects are not just the government's project, it's the country's or the people's project, It belongs to the whole nation, so that they have to really make it, or at least you can call for a proper review on those projects.
A Chinese-backed copper mine in the Lapadang mountain range has been met with fierce public opposition. Despite ongoing protests, the government allowed the project to continue operations.
If the companies are doing wrong, the government has to also take up on the issue, then there should be accountability.
There is no space for civil society and also the citizens of Myanmar to raise their voice.
If the government pushes ahead with big projects opposed by the local people, it could derail the peace talks. President Thein Sein has called for a nationwide ceasefire conference in November, and the armed ethnic groups are discussing whether they will attend. Many ethnic leaders want to push the government into accepting a federal union. The Karen, Shan and Kachin say a lasting peace can only be possible with full rights for ethnic nationalities.